Welcome back, guys, to Doc Lil Talks Comics, and tonight I've got a very, very special one for you. So, this week, Swamp Thing 1989 issue 1 came out by Rick Veitch, Michael Zulli, and who was it? Trish Mulvihill, and then Vince Locke came in as inker. Back around, I want to say 2005. I got on eBay right when it was, just getting started, 2005, 2006. And I was on a comic book forum called comiccon.com. Rick Veitch was on there. And there was a lot of threads at that time on that website regarding Rick's unfinished Swamp Thing saga. And so I got on eBay and I started looking. And these are not, I haven't kept them in pristine shape over the years, but I did. And if anybody is extremely sensitive to material of a Christian nature that might be offensive, I see this for what it is. It's history, it's historical, and it really fits in with the narrative that Rick was trying to tell. So I don't see it as offensive, but I just wanted to put the spoiler out there just in case anybody else might. And I'm going to show it in 3, 2. It's a photocopy of the original proposed cover of Swamp Thing issue number 88 with Swamp Thing as the cross upon which Jesus Christ was crucified. And I've got all of these pages. Let me see if I can show them to you a little bit at a time. I'm not going to go through the whole book with you, but it was a rough draft, maybe a first draft before the finished product of Swamp Thing number 88. You get to see where Swamp Thing would be inserted in the artwork. These white sections here, and then he was floating right here. And you see some of the birth of this story from where Rick created it and where Michael was bringing Swamp Thing. I don't know if you can see it or not, guys. I'm going to try to bring it a little bit closer if I can, and then just bring it out so that maybe the video doesn't get out of focus. But on these pages that I'm looking at, you can see where the artwork from Michael Zulli was going to be pasted right here. You can see the faint outline of the artwork. But I just wanted to show you guys, before we start talking about the story itself, I wanted to show you the origin and a little bit of where it came from. I think now that DC has decided they're going to print this issue, you don't have to worry about finding badly photocopied excerpts of this like I did, but I'm sure that you can still find stuff like that on eBay if you so desired. So anyway, that's just an interesting little tidbit. Now, this story overall had Swamp Thing starting, I believe, in issue 82, and there was a magical item that Adolf Hitler was looking for, and I think it was called the Claw of Elkhund, and it was a piece of amber-colored stone, and that amber was somehow the catalyst to send Swampy to different time frames. And as the story progresses, you see that he's going back in time. So you get to see different Swamp Things of different times. You get to see the Swamp Thing of World War I. I believe his name was Alec Hollerer. He was an ace pilot. I can't remember how all those stories went, but in every instance, he found something that kind of changed the trajectory. It was almost like quantum leap, okay? Think about it like that. And in that same kind of instance, as soon as Sam Beckett, aka Swamp Thing, changed what needed to be changed, then he leapt forward. Well, leapt backwards, but he leapt from one time frame to another. And at the time that they were going to do issue 88, he was going to leap into the time of Jesus Christ. And he was going to leap into the night of the magician. And there were people, of course, that wanted Jesus out of the way. But I'll let the story speak for itself, and we'll talk about it a little bit more at the end and see whether this was something that was worth printing, saving, savoring as we go through it, or whether it should have been left to the mist of time. All right? So this first cover that I got actually shows the Michael Zully cover that is the variant cover for this issue, and it is Swamp Thing, and of course he has a crown of thorns, and you see his arms spread out here and his arms spread out here. So it's the same iconography as the original cover, but it's done more tastefully, okay? But it has the same punch and it has the same thought process as the original cover did. Show you guys, get a good look at it there. And then, awesomely enough, you have this Batman poster cover on the back. Okay, so that was the first cover for the book. That's actually the variant cover. And then you had Rick Veitch himself come back and do another cover for the reprinted issue. And this kind of has the same thing. Instead of Swamp Thing being crucified on a cross, or being the cross that crucified Christ, now Swamp Thing is instead holding this lamb and caressing it and still showing it the reverence that he feels it deserves. So that's really cool how they were still able to get Rick 40 years later to come back and do that cover with the same amount of detail that he always had for Swampy. But now you get to go back and see all of this that I was showing you in color. You get to see what it would have looked like back in the day. Oddly enough, I didn't realize this until right now, but this is set as a black label book, which makes sense because it was this series. Sorry guys, my brain's a little addled. But this series was lumbering towards the Vertigo launch, I believe, with issue 129. So it still had a ways to go before Vertigo was a thing, but it's apropos to see it as a black label book. But Trish Mulvihill outdid herself since, unfortunately, Tatiana Wood was no longer with us. She died a couple of months ago, just before her 100th birthday. So it would have been great to have still had Alfredo Alcala with us so that he could have inked and kept kind of everything together. But Swamp Thing still is talking in his slow, methodical speech pattern. Let's see. It says, a few years beyond the boiling crisis and confusion lies my own age, from which I was ignominiously ejected. Is it merely curiosity that turns me against? Hey, sorry guys, I ran out of video space, so hopefully we're good this time. But you get to see Swamp Thing and Jesus and humanity all as one. This book has got so much depth to it. Jesus casting out Etrigan, who is the son of Belial, and eventually dying on the cross, just as history is foretold in the Bible, and all of that. So, what do you guys think? Do you think this was a book that should have been published? Do you think it was 40 years too late? How do you feel about it? Let me know in the comments. I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot of great conversation about this. There's a lot of people like me that are my age that read that story when they were growing up, and I want to see it completed. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.